Hi everybody, I'm Michelle with Birdie Bloom and Vintage Coach Eye Candy, and today I am bringing you this bag. Iconic, pretty common, very popular. This is the City bag, and I cannot believe I haven't talked about her until now. It's wild because she is a very popular common bag. She also gets mistaken for a couple of bags, right? Like the convertible clutch, even though the convertible clutch is different, has removable straps, but they have the same, silhouette. But she is iconic. She features this front flap. It doesn't go all the way down. She's quite large. A back pocket, an adjustable 44-inch strap. We're gonna get into that 44-inch adjustable strap, and a pretty nice cavity inside. Pocket, front pocket, like full length pocket, and cavity here. So she has like natural separation in her already. She also has a zipper in the back. And along that back wall is where you see the creed for these bags, but this is the City bag. This one happens to be a black one made in the New York City era. And guys, you might be surprised to hear when this bag was new. I mean, I'm surprised to hear it because it is such a common bag and so iconic, right? But the City bag was not introduced. I'm sorry, I don't have her stuffed and she keeps on popping in there. I want to blow her up a little bit, but the City bag was not introduced until the spring of 1987. Crazy. Again, I said this was New York City, made in New York City, so we know they were still using those stamps at least in 1986, 87. I say 86 because even though it was introduced in 1987, it could have theoretically been made in 1986. They were known to make their bags in advance before releases. But yeah, it's a style number 9785, and it pretty much remained the same throughout the rest of the 80s, into the 90s, and into the early 2000s. And then they even did some remakes of this, like in 2011 era. There's another era that they did that, but yeah, iconic and massive and very, I guess, useful. She has a seam on the bottom. So here she is, that spring of 1987, new. She's about 11.5 by 7.5 by 3/4 of an inch. And like I said, her strap is 44 inches. This one actually has a 44-inch strap that can be shortened. But I have another one to show you, which is a mahogany. She was made in 1998. I think she's actually Mexican leather. I don't have this one totally, I don't have it revived at all. I haven't done anything to it, but as you can see, she's in pretty good condition as is. But her strap is longer. And so I thought, well, I wonder, it's like 47 inches. And I wondered if perhaps they did change the length of the strap or offered it in another size. I can't say that for sure, but the catalogs, here's a catalog photo from 1998, actually, when this bag was made. And it shows a 44-inch strap. So they didn't really adjust the size, but if you collect vintage Coach or if you're getting new into it, just note you can collect the same bag, even from the same year, and you're gonna notice differences in sizes. These bags were handmade. They're going to follow the same like shape and construction, but they're not all exactly the same size when you line them up. Very similar, but sometimes you can notice quite large differences. So always helpful to get that strap measurement, especially if you're particular on your strap measurement. And you know what, if you're somebody who's selling vintage Coach, it might be really nice to include that. And also if you know that the strap is longer than the typical strap, mention that in your listing, because you might have people who are taller or larger who are looking specifically for straps or bags with longer straps. So just something to consider. Oh, here is a catalog photo from the fall. So I said spring of 1987 is when it was introduced just in the fall of 1987, which kind of like reiterates how popular this bag became and why you see so many on the market, because I guess they were purchased at the time, and so there's more available for us to relove. But here's a catalog photo from fall of 1987, and it says, recently introduced, this new silhouette has already become one of the most popular choices. Yeah, and I believe it. But I told you that it looks a lot like a convertible clutch. I know that when I was new into vintage Coach, it was one of those bags. I was like, which one is which? The convertible clutch though is actually slightly smaller. So again, 11.5 by 7.5 by 3 3/4. The convertible clutch is 11 inches. So half an inch smaller by 7 inches, half an inch shorter by 3 inches. So 3/4, almost an inch thinner. So something to keep in mind, but very similar in size. In 1989, I mentioned this before, but we'll say it again, the Spectator line was introduced. And the Spectator line is the line that has the beautiful leather with the tabak trim. That tabak, which is a darker tan leather trim. And those came in all different colors with the main leather. But in 1989, that line was introduced, and along with that introduction, they started producing the city bag, the Spectator city bag. But that bag, as well as the other Spectator bags, or any bag that's going to be made a little differently, even though it has the same shape, your twill line, I mean, you have other ones as well besides the Spectator. I'm like drawing a blank right now. But anyways, the Spectator city bag was style number 6790. And again, new in 1989. And I don't believe you will ever see a Spectator bag with a style number in it, because I don't believe they were produced in 1994 or later. So keep that in mind. It will always be a random registration number for that. But the city bag, you will see style numbers because they continue to be produced into the 2000s. And this is going to be, actually, I'm going to go ahead and get into this. So we have the Facebook group, Vintage Coach Eye Candy. And let me talk to you. Okay, it's 2005, right? And so we're entering this new era. Starting in the early 2000s, Coach started making different changes. It's where I think they kind of started getting away from that quality leather. They started having, a lot of fabric bags, a lot of Coach symbols on bags. They changed their look. They got away from these classic bags. They were still producing the classic bags in the early 2000s. But that is when they started getting away from it. And that is now the era that we've entered in. And and there is a lot of popularity with that style, or with those styles and with that era. But I think the majority of us, when we like earlier vintage Coach, because I am not early to the game, let me tell you, there are plenty more people who've had many more years and actually much greater finds who've been in the game longer. But what we came into it for, like what drew us, is the quality of the leather. And so when you start getting away from that quality, and when you start changing that iconic look, and it just becomes, I don't know, more flashy, different, that isn't what a lot of us are referring to or thinking about when we think of vintage Coach. So just because it was made in 2005 and it is technically vintage this year, it doesn't mean that it follows the same interests in the vintage Coach community. However, there is a huge Y2K interest. And so I think that it would behoove us to have like a separate area to go to for those bags and for that knowledge, because I don't have that knowledge. And a lot of us don't. There's plenty that do, but I want to keep Vintage Coach Eye Candy, the vintage leather, keep it vintage leather specific. But anyways, I digress. So that would also bring me to, a lot of people will still ask, because in the 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, China became a production facility for Coach. And so a lot of people will say, I don't like China bags. I don't like China bags at all. And this would be an example of a bag that was produced in the early 2000s in some really funky, fun, crazy colors. And they all happen to come from China. Not say every single one of them, but that was a major production of those fun colors. So keep that in mind. I don't discriminate against China-made bags in the early 2000s in the vintage styles. I've said that before. I still like them. Is it different? Yeah, it is slightly different, but it's still actually good quality, in my opinion. They still revive really well. Yeah, I would still get them. Okay, so yeah, your common colors, black, red, bone, tabak, forest green, but then you've also got colors like denim and eggplant. I mean, you've got bone as well and white, but bamboo was another color. There's a lot of colors for the city bag. It is a fun one to collect if that is your thing. Were these bags counterfeited? Yes, of course they were. They were popular. Was it a top counterfeited bag? I don't consider it one of the top 5 counterfeited because, and I think what makes me decide that is when you're looking, how many counterfeits have you seen in relation to authentic? I mean, there are a lot of city bags out there, so it kind of could be skewed in that way, but I will tell you, I do see counterfeits of this, and in fact, doing research for this video, I saw plenty of counterfeits. I saw expensive counterfeits, so just ask somewhere that you trust. We authenticate for free in the Vintage Coach Eye Candy group, vintage only or vintage styles. I'm okay with non-vintage remakes of the vintage style, but yeah, so there's that. Be careful. All right, so let's try them on. So I have, and this will just show you how like much longer the strap is. Both of these are on their, so this one's on its longest longest length, and this one is on its shortest, and they are literally the same height. Here, how do I show you that? I mean, I could show it to you they are literally the same height. So this strap is just so much longer. So I will, I mean, it's gonna look the same. We'll go ahead and try this one on. This is at its longest length. This is the city bag. Super nice silhouette. It's a large bag. It's gonna hold a lot, but not being too bulky or too chunky. It's just a really nice, well-made, well-designed bag. I don't know if that was the best outfit to wear this in. Since this is the one that's probably gonna be the most common length, I'm going to go ahead and shorten it. I don't know, how did you think that crossbodied? I guess it was okay. Obviously, you can always add more holes. Try to do it professionally if you're gonna do that. I wouldn't be, I don't like straps that are shortened. Usually they're not done very well, I have found, even if professionally done. I don't like straps that are shortened, but I don't mind extra holes in straps if I were purchasing a bag from somebody. Just keep that in mind. Just make it, you know, look nice. It's easy to have that done. Okay, so this is on the shorter length. And this is cross-bodied short, just to show you. I mean, that could be for some people. Convenient. Let's see how this looks. Just open the flap, dig in for your stuff. That's a great shopping bag. That is a great, convenient bag. Let me do that for you with it over my shoulder. And this bag is just so easily available. Yes. There you go. How do you like her? Let's put the brown on just because we're here. I guess I should show you this one long, how long it looks too, since I have more length on this one. But again, I mean, I'm 5'7". That's only gonna be if you get a strap that happens to be longer than the typical. This is about a 47-inch strap, and I measure from hardware to hardware on both bags. So it's really from the top of this part, like, so where this hardware starts, the top of this, that's where you should measure it. She's probably gonna crossbody a little better. Yeah, she might even be a little too long for me. There's more room for perfection here though. So yeah, that is a city bag for you. What do you think about it? I don't particularly carry this style. Don't know why. Maybe it's because, Michelle, you have like too many bags as is. Though I have quite a few of these, so probably should do something with them. But there you have it. New York City black city bag, started in 1987, went through the early 2000s, was remade actually as well. It's style number 9785. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more Vintage Coach bag talks. Come over to Vintage Coach Eye Candy. Check out that eye candy that people post if that is your thing. If you like to look at Vintage Coach, come over there to check it out and post pictures of your own. All right. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.